Welcome to the Phantom Zone.
Hello, in this week's first episode is Cyborg. We're introduced to the third member of the Justice League, Ben and Hypnotic. This time it's Clark who's magically brainwashed into being in a relationship. This is the SMALLVILLE Chronicles. Hello and welcome back. We've been on a mini break, and we'll probably have another one because of the holidays. But yeah, we have our third person, I believe, that's in the Justice League, because we had Bart, Aquaman, and now Cyborg, which this is our first live-action adaptation of Cyborg.
Yeah.
So yeah, each of those is the first because I don't think Bart's never gotten another live adaptation, and we've only had two other Aquaman. No, I guess the Aquaman pilot was before the show one, but that never hit the air, so kind of up there. But yeah, so this is our first adaptation of Cyborg. We've also had the Justice League one, which I don't even remember the actor's name.
Ray something.
Which is funny because in both other ones, their fathers were in Smallville, because the Justice League, Silas Stone is Joe Morton, and then in Doom Patrol, Silas Stone is the guy that plays Martian Manhunter.
Yeah, Phil Morris.
Yep.
And to make it even better, he played Jack Childs on Seinfeld.
Oh.
He was Kramer's lawyer.
Yeah, well, he's been around. He's a character actor that's been around for forever. And I actually Joe Morton gets to do nothing in Justice League, which that's a whole other thing to deal with that movie. But I actually really like what they do in Doom Patrol with both characters.
Well, it's because of Morris it was after how well people responded to Phil Morris's version of Martian Manhunter, that they decided to make him his alter ego Black.
Oh yeah, in the comics, I think he's basically been Black since then.
Yeah,
because even the most recent one, John Jones has been John Jones, not John Jones, has been Black. I'm trying to look up because I completely forgot.
Yeah, the episode starts with.
Oh, I was gonna pull up when Cyborg. So we haven't done an intro to a character in a while, but
oh yeah,
so Cyborg first he's kind of the newest character you're gonna get. Maybe Bart's probably newer, but I think we did Flash, but yeah. So he's from 1980. So DC Comics presents number 26, created by Marvel fan and George Perez. If you've been listening to the comics podcast, those are the same guys who did Crisis on Infinite Earths, which we'll talk about the CW show towards the end of this episode. But yeah, we get an abridged version, but kind of similar to all of his
comics origin.
Yeah, in this, I'm trying to remember, it's a car accident, right?
I believe so.
So in the comics and almost everything else, it's a lab accident.
Yeah, lab explosion.
Yes, and then his father uses magic technology to save him. So in the Justice League, he uses, just like movie, he uses
a mother box.
A mother box. In most of the newer cartoons, it's been a mother box. And then in Doom Patrol, he just builds him up with just technology and nanobots, I think.
Yeah.
And then I'm trying to think I think the Doom Patrol one is closer to his original origin. But this is basically the same. They're just tying it more to Superman in many ways, where he was rebuilt with.
He's basically the Bionic Man.
That's the best way to put it. He's the Bionic Man built by Luthor Corp, because his father is not involved at all, and instead he's replaced by this Dr. Hong character, and that's how we start. He's in this cage thing. Dr. Hong wakes him up. He's I'm sorry. Hands him a photograph of a girl. The Victor runs his way out of the building. There's alarms. And then he runs into the street and he's hit by an SUV driven by Lana Lang. Basically, it's she hit a pole. She's stunned, but she's fine. And Victor takes her to a hospital and then leaves quickly. But she calls Clark to come get her. And she's like, yeah, I hit the guy at 30 miles an hour. He wasn't hurt. Which, I'm trying to think. it seemed faster than 30 miles an hour, but 30 miles an hour is like still pretty quick to hit something. Like you would do the damage she does. But like once again, Smallville trope, they destroy a car.
Yeah.
Which I love how they don't even explain where these cars come from. Like people just have cars all of a sudden.
I wonder what franchise or what series has destroyed more cars, Smallville or Fast and the Furious?
Oh, they don't really destroy a lot of cars in they don't destroy their cars. They destroy lots of other cars in Fast and Furious. But yeah. But Clark goes and finds him and he's like, "Oh, you're from Metropolis High. You're Victor Stone. You died with your whole family in a car crash," which is basically all the origin we really get from his backstory. And he's like, "Oh, Clark Kent, Smallville, the quarterback." It's like, "Oh, you don't." It's like he's like,
he says you had one hell of an arm.
Yeah, he's like, "Oh man, like I wish." Like they kind of do like we would have been awesome if we played together at like Met U. And they're both like, "Yeah, I don't play anymore." And then Clark X-ray visions him, and this is where we get like
the closest thing we'll get to, or at least at this time, to seeing live action Cyborg.
Yeah, and it's like I'm looking at the picture, and it's really like they do the best they can, but it makes no sense. So instead of lungs, he has like tanks, and so his left arm is basically fine. His spine, like kind of below the chest, is metal, and he has like a deathlock kind of thing going on. But that's like the old school Cyborg, where like his whole left side of his skull is metal, and like left side of his jaw. It's just like a lot of piston. It's like not quite T2 stuff. It's like worse, which is why we only get like one shot of it. I think maybe like two, but it's fine. Like it's what they can do. It's what they could do at the time. This is 2006, so and compared to like what we get in Doom Patrol, like Doom Patrol does a lot with a limited budget because we will basically only ever see his face and then his hands, which are obviously gloves. And then when he opens up his shirt, it's just like a obvious vest thing that he's wearing. So it's not like the $100 million of CGI they spent in Justice League, which doesn't even look that great.
Yeah.
But yeah, then he kind of and then we cut to the Kent's house, and Martha gets a secret package that contains a DVD of Clark saving Lana from the explosion at Warehouse 15. And she gets a call demanding money. When she hangs up, Lionel Luthor appears, and she doesn't tell him anything, but he notices that she's distracted, and is like, you can count on me. Like, I know what's up. I'll help you out. Which is like, this is where they start to weave in, like, the beginnings of them hooking up. But I'm always, like, confused of, like, how much time has kind of passed. Like, I feel like this season takes place over, like, 2 years.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
Because it's, like, because they end up dating in this season, right?
Martha and Lionel?
Yeah.
I don't think...
I think it's kind of like they get, like, close in the season. I'm like, that is really fast for her. But that's, I guess, for another time. Also, I love that it's, like, a DVD player. It's, like, not just a DVD. Like, it's one of those traveling ones that looks like a PS1, like the slim PS1. So then we cut back to the barn, of course, and Clark and Victor are there, and Victor's like, "Yeah, the whole family was in a car accident and died, but I was pulled barely alive, and this company, Syntechnics, which is total fake tech-sounding word, experimented on him, and they were able to restore him with bionic parts." Like you said, he's the billion-dollar man. He tells Clark that the doctor helped him escape. He's like, "Are you bionic too?" And Clark's like, "No, I'm just different." And Victor's like, "Does Lana know you're different?" And he's like, "No, I haven't told her." And he's like, "Oh, this is my girlfriend, Catherine. And I want to tell her that I'm alive because we were going to move in together and have a life. But she probably won't love me now because I'm different." And Clark's like, "Yeah, I'm not really the best person to ask her on this device because I haven't told Lana. And I feel like if I did, like, it would change stuff." And he's like, "But I will help you get away from Syntechnics." And he's like, "Stay in the barn. I'm going to go talk to my science person," which is Chloe.
And then here we got the bit that probably hasn't aged well, because the person who delivers the line is, let's just say, not available.
Yeah. So yeah, Chloe and Lana are at the planet, and she's like describing Victor, and Clark shows up, and she explains that her research didn't turn up anything. Untoward, they are making prosthetic limbs. But she's like, it is owned by Luthor Corp. And Clark's like, I guess I got to go talk to Lex, who's like, I didn't do shit. Like, get out of my face.
Well, it's more along the lines of Lex says, I own hundreds of like subsidiaries.
Yeah, I don't know what they're all doing.
Yeah, and he mentions that he says he's been investigating, and
he kind of does like a corporate. He kind of does corporate speak of like, well, there has been like reports of people, abusing power, and I'm doing an internal investigation. So I'll look into it and I'll let you know. And Clark's like, yeah, okay, and kind of huffs and puffs his way out of there in a very like pouty way, which is like, this is where like I get annoyed with their. Like, it's their in-between, like, friend and enemy relationship. It's like, why would you even go to him if you don't believe? Like, why bother at this point? But it's just, like, set up tension and other stuff going on. So Lana goes to the Marm and talks to Victor, and basically is like, yeah, the Lex Luthor owns synthetics, but she's sure that he had nothing to do with it. He's like, are you going to tell Catherine that you're alive and that, that you shouldn't lie to the woman you love? And he's like, yeah, I guess, like, you're right. I should go tell her, which this all later on will have interesting the next time we see him, what happens. And then a beam of energy comes in and hits him in the shoulder from agents from the company who also push Lana down. But before they can get him, Clark arrives and
they don't push Lana down. They punch her in the face. I'm like, but you. I was at loss for words.
But I guess it's kind of like equality that they punch her in the face like they would punch a guy. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know how that works. But Clark shows up and knocks everybody out. Lana's cool. She took it like a champ, I guess. But Victor's arm is oozing black stuff. And Clark and Lana are like, all right, let's take him to the apartment at the Talon because Lois isn't there. Victor is like, yeah, they're all connected to me. So, like, this fluid's from my power cell. So if I leak it all out, I'll die because it's basically my blood. So they have to go back to the place. Clark tells Chloe about the stuff, and he's like, it's definitely Lex is into this. And she's like, I don't know, like, Lex really doesn't have anything. And, like, why would he be into this? And, like, this guy has this, like, reputation of clashing with his supervisors. So you need to, find the doctor that helped Victor out. He finds Dr. Hong in the garage and tries to save him, but Hong's been dead from carbon monoxide poisoning. He's been suicided, as they say. Clark's surprised when Lex shows up, and Lex is like, yeah, Dr. Hong was the whistleblower on this project, but either he killed himself or somebody wouldn't let him live to tell the tale. And then the bad guy doctor, Dr. Krieg, is certain, right? It's Krieg?
Yeah. Does he look familiar, by the way?
It's surprising. Everybody looks familiar in this show. Yeah, he looks.
He goes on to. I think he was on the show already. He goes on to play a clone of Lex, and he was on Legion.
Oh, who is he on Legion?
He's the guy in the first season I think he had the code name of like either the Eyes or something.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I know.
Yeah.
So the Dr. Krieg is looking for Victor, and if Clark knows where he is, he needs to tell him to save his life. Victor is like getting weaker, and Lana's like, yeah, Dr. Hong is dead, and Victor's like, yeah, I'm just gonna I at least want to go and see like my parents' grave. She's like, well, why don't you just wait with me for Clark and Lex? But he's like, I want to see Catherine before I die. He goes to Catherine's house, but Krieg is there with agents, and they force him to go, or they'll harm Catherine. So he goes, and basically what we find out is that this is all set up from Lex. And then we get Lex staring at him as he's plugged into a machine. And this machine is like very, I'm trying to think. It's kind of like the thing Rey is on in Force Awakens. Like, it's like a metal table, but he's clamped on his head and his arm. It's actually not a bad, like, kind of design. Like, it's cool. And then we go to Martha goes to the alley with a briefcase full of money, prepared to turn it over. But Lionel drives up, and the blackmailer runs away. Martha's like, I have a lot at stake here. And he's like, I'm protecting you from blackmail. You're a state senator now. Stuff's going to happen. I don't care what's in the package. I just want to help, which we know is full of shit. And we go, Clark is back at the Talon, and he's annoyed at Lana for letting Victor leave, and she says like he went to go see Catherine and she couldn't stop him anyway, and Clark realizes they took him back to the lab, so he super speeds to get there. Victor wakes up and Lex says he just has to be patient while they repair him. Lex says he wants Victor to have a normal life, but Victor's like, I don't believe anything you're saying. And Lex is like, basically tells him that they're helping him to take the edge off his anger and his loneliness or any other emotions, because they basically want to make him a walking killing machine, which ties into stuff that we'll see in the future. And he basically Lex leaves them to start the procedure, and they're going to put a chip in his frontal lobe.
To
Clark arrives.
make him a robot.
Yeah, Clark arrives and chucks everybody around the room. He goes back to the mansion and demands answers from Lex, because Victor told him that Lex was spearheading the procedure, and Lex is like, no, like, I was trying to stop this renegade experiment. And Clark's like, I don't believe you. And Lex is like, basically, like, all this kind of stuff that, like, medical technology has, like, prices, and you can let yourself out, Clark. Victor goes to the barn and thanks Clark. Looks like, it's no problem. And Lana shows up with Catherine to reunite, and Catherine's like, what the hell is going on? Victor's like weird about it, but she's like, I want to know what's going on. And Lana's like, oh, look, they're being honest with each other. And Clark doesn't give her eye contact. And Clark is kind of going through all his old stuff later. And she's like, oh, why are you so quiet? Like, why'd you quit football? You loved it so much. And Clark's like, yeah, it was just the game. And she's like, you're always hiding away your feelings. I wish, like, Victor and Catherine's relationship is a lot like ours. Was at our best. And, like, if we could just be open and honest with each other, blah, blah, blah. And Clark's just like, and unsad. Like, basically, Lana just leaves because Clark kind of just ignores everything she says, which is basically all set up for what will happen in the rest of the season. And then we cut to the B story. So Martha's looking at the DVD. Lionel shows up to the front door and it's like, yeah, so the blackmailer agreed to never contact you again. I'm very happy that I was able to help. He also is like, basically says like, yeah, you're a senator. People aren't going to like go after you. And Martha's like, thank you so much. And he kind of wins over her trust. And Lionel's like, oh, thank you. And then he leaves. We go to his office and he pays the blackmailer, then takes the DVD, throws it in the fireplace, but he's watching like his own copy of it at the same time. And says like, sees Clark's face and mutters Kal-El's secret is safe with him, which ties into like, there's like so much like subtext in here that goes to stuff for the rest of the season. It's
a great scene. On one hand, you have Martha burning the DVD, and then you see Lionel watching it, and then your secret is safe with me. Big pause, Kal-El.
Yeah, because like this ties into, I think we get into it in season 6 or 7. Well, this season we get into it with like Lionel being the emissary. All the stuff with Cyborg ties into, I can't remember what it's called, but it's like Lois's friend who gets turned into like a assassin with like predator abilities. He gets
the one who was in.
Yes, he was in a previous episode as a completely different character.
Yeah, the one with the bomb.
Yes,
with the.
He was tied to that dumb Adam character with like the kidney disease thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, it kind of all that ties into that because they like were saying like everything they like built into him as he was a soldier under General Lane, and there's just like tons and tons, and then also going into especially the next episode, more stuff between Lana and Clark is fractured in this episode, like even more than it was beforehand. Overall, it's a pretty good episode. They do like really, really do a light job on Cyborg, which I'm kind of surprised they even did as a character in this show, because he's like such a special effects heavy character in many ways. But I guess they did like the best they could. Do have to note that close my tab. Sadly, the actor who played Cyborg,
Lee Thompson Young.
Yeah, he suffered from bipolar disorder, and he took his own life while he was on the show Rizzoli and Isles several years ago. So it's a sad story what ended up happening with him.
He's also known as Jet Jackson.
I'm sorry, what was it?
Jet Jackson.
Oh, yeah.
The old Disney show.
Yeah. I'm like, yeah, he was on that. Like, he's been around like a character time. And yeah, he was younger than I am. He died in 2013. Wow. Like, did not know it was that long ago. 6 years ago at 29. So yeah, like he did a bunch of stuff. He was in the Sarah Connor's Chronicles, Scrubs, Flash Forward, The Good Guys. But like besides this, it was like this and Rizzoli Isles, Jet Jackson that were probably his biggest things. Trying to see. Oh, he was in Friday Night Lights, the movie. But yeah, he suffered with like bipolar disorder, which if you ever have like, mental health issues are serious, and if you're ever having trouble, seek help. Like, it's hard to get through that kind of stuff on your own. And mental health illness is serious, and you should take it seriously. And yeah, if people around you don't help you, there are professionals and there are free helplines. I think they're actually like trying to make a new number to call specifically for mental health issues, like kind of like 911, but for suicide. I think it's like 944. So it is good now that mental health stuff is taking a more front seat and people are better understanding of it all. Yeah, otherwise, to go back to it, it was a pretty good episode, especially compared to our next one. Did you have anything else you wanted to add to Cyborg?
Yeah, I kind of got the whole Catherine thing mixed up because I was like, for some reason in my head, I was like, oh man, but the sad part is coming up, and I'm like, wait, what happened? And I realized that, oh wait, no, that's the next episode he's on.
Yes. Basically, I think it's like 2 seasons from here.
No, it's like next season.
Next season when they do their first kind of Justice League pro out, and you basically reveals that like, yeah, Catherine couldn't handle it. I think it's just more like they don't have time to like even delve into that, and they just like wrote off. But yeah, and it's kind of simultaneous with like what's going on with Clark and Lana, and basically like it kind of tells Clark that like it doesn't work out, like it's not like maybe he did make the right decision. So our second episode is Hypnotic. Oh, is there a big gap here? So this came out. So the first one came out
February
16th.
And this one was March 30th.
Yeah, so it took like a month gap, and this one starts. This is a weird episode.
One half. Well, the A plot is bad. The B plot is much better.
Yeah, which is strange. But we start with the B plot. So in Honduras, there's like guys in hazardous suits, and they're entering a hut full of bloody bodies, and they're collecting blood samples when, Professor Fine enters wearing no equipment, and he kills everybody and takes the blood sample and then burns it all down with his heat vision.
Yeah, and he just goes in, he grabs the guy tries to grab him, but instead he grabs the guy, takes the mask off, throws him at like something, and he's just screaming in pain.
Yeah, because it seems like they're implying that they're dying from radiation poisoning, I think is what's happening.
And the other guy tries to get to him, but he gets T-1000 right in the eye. Which
I like when they do all that stuff.
Yeah, and the blood sample that he takes is very key to the end of the season, the beginning of next season.
Yeah. So we cut back to Smallville, and Clark and Lana are talking at the town about their latest date, which was a terrible dance lesson. It's like, oh, Lana's like, maybe we should try something else next time. And also, I had the dorm room to myself, like, this weekend. And Clark's like, oh, I got stuff to do on the farm. And she's like, whenever you're ready to, like, be intimate again, I'll be waiting. Which has been, like, kind of their way of dealing with the fact of Clark and her have not been together since he lost his powers and got them back.
Yeah.
So, because he's, like, afraid to do, I can't remember what the book was called that like addressed it, but that's like really dumb that like he's afraid that he'll basically really hurt in the throes of passion. So that is why, and he's kind of talked about it, I think, with Chloe in a previous episode, and she was like, well, I don't need to talk about this.
Yeah.
But as Lana leaves, there's a woman with a large amulet on her neck shows up, and she's like, hi, my name is Simone. And basically is like, Clark, you're going to do anything I say. And Clark's like, okay. And they are totally making out when Lois shows up, and he's like, what are you doing? And he's like, this is my new girlfriend, Simone. And then we go back to our B plot. Lex summoned Lana to the mansion, and I think Professor Fine's disappearance is connected with the ship that we had. And she's like, you're going to go and and he's like, oh, we think we found him. And she's like, oh, you're going to go find him, and you're going to go to Honduras and look for him. And she's like, can I go? And Lex is like, I don't want to put you in danger. And says no. And we go to Clark takes Simone to the farm and gives her a piece of. She says she needs champagne to go with it, and he super speeds and comes back with a bottle, and she's just like, you can run really fast. And she's like, what else can you do?
Yeah, so she then asks for chocolate strawberries or chocolate dipped strawberries. He comes back with them, and she just says, call your girlfriend and tell her to end it, or end it with her. And
yeah, and it's super weird. And then it's just, this episode is annoying. So Lois tells Chloe what she saw, and Chloe's like, yeah, okay. And she's like, something is totally up. And Lois is like, basically, don't tell anybody anything until we find out. Lana shows up, and they're just like, oh, blah, blah, blah. And then Lana gets a call from Clark, and she's like, saying he needs to talk to her, and then she leaves in a hurry, and they're like, oh, shit. Then we go to Simone's in the loft with Clark, and he's like, look, I can lift stuff up. I'm super strong. And she's like, let's have sex. And he's like, well, I might hurt you. And they're making out in their underwear, and then Lana shows up, and she's like, what the shit is going on? And Simone's like, break up with her. And he breaks up with her. Lana leaves in tears. Clark goes to follow her. He's like, I'm sorry, I've fallen in love with someone else. And Lana's just like destroyed. And then Simone randomly goes to the mansion, to Lex's mansion, and Lex isn't there because he's in Honduras. But they're looking at something via closed circuit television. He's like, oh, I've known you. You have the mind control abilities. She reports that Clark and Lana have been broken up. And he's like, she didn't notice anything unusual about Clark. And she's like, no, he just seems like a normal guy. And he's like, oh, so our deal is done. And asks Lex to leave her alone. And Lex is like, oh, I'm annoyed that there's this stuff, but we'll meet. I want you to come and meet Miss Milton Fine in Honduras. And she's like, no, I'm not going to Honduras. It's like, oh, don't forget, I have the evidence to blackmail you. They'll put you in prison. And basically, I think she says Lex warned that Fine isn't who they think he is. Because I believe she knows because Clark told her.
No, one of Lex's guys comes in and tells him that this Milton Fine guy is not who he says he is.
Okay. Because I think at this point, Clark's already told her a bunch of random shit. But Chloe goes and confronts Clark about his behavior in the barn while he's doing chores. And she's like, why would you do that to hurt Lana? And Clark's like, I've just fallen in love. So I told her, and I've told Simone all about my powers. And she's cool with it. Chloe's like, oh my God, wait, what?
Yeah, and I liked how she was like, well, it's not red kryptonite. Like how she said, she basically does what Lois does later on in the show. It can't be red kryptonite.
Yeah, because he's not acting crazy. He's not acting like Cal, or he's not doing all this other stuff. He's clearly influenced, and it's not
she says that he's still doing chores and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Acting normal. He's acting normally except for that one bit.
Mm-hmm. So basically, Chloe's stay away from Simone because he's manipulating you. Chloe sneaks into the house where Simone shows up, and she's like, oh, I'm glad you guys are together. And when Simone turns it back, Chloe takes a card from her purse. And then we cut to our B plot. So Lex is in Honduras and he meets Fine. And Fine's like, yeah, I've been leaving you clues to find me. You think you would have found me on your own?
Yeah, the correct term, or the actual term, was breadcrumbs.
Yeah. And Lex is like, I know you're working for the government. You work for the State Department.
Oh, can I just mention how great the scene is? This particular scene is. As Lex says, I know the truth about you. You see his hand behind his back, and he's getting ready to kill him.
T-1000 him.
Yeah, and it says, I know the truth that you're an agent of that you're a government operative, and he just quickly undoes everything.
Yeah, he's like, oh, I can use this. And yeah, so he's basically like, yeah. And he's like, why are you pretending to be a college professor? And it's like, I've been investigating an extraterrestrial presence in Smallville. He says, I know about the ship that landed during the meteor shower, and I thought that, Luthor Corp took it. And Lex thinks Fine knows that the ship is in Honduras. And Fine talks to the villagers, and they're like, yeah, they have seen the ship. And basically, the main person who found it is incinerated, and that he and Luthor Corp need to work together to prevent the catastrophe from a possible invasion.
God, I say this makes me even hate that show Ancient Aliens even more, because they talk about Fiennes mentions many people in the world believe that the gods of myth were aliens, and then he
Smallville directly sets that up.
Yeah, and then Smallville, or not Smallville, Lex responds something with "Charity to the Gods," which is a fucking book by Eric von Daniken.
Oh yeah, it's like a very, very famous book. Yeah, but that's what they build a lot. Like the whole what is the group? It's like Veritas or something.
Yeah,
like that whole group thing is like all part of like the Charity to the Gods thing that they build into Smallville. I think even like stuff is too in this, right? Is he an alien when he shows up, or is he like, I don't remember, when Hawkman shows up? Is he supposed to be Thanagarian, or is it like the school where he's just like...
It's old school Carter Cole.
Okay. It's not the Thanagarian stuff. Okay. To go back to this episode, so Lois and Chloe are at the Daily Planet. It's like, I'm investigating Simone, and I learned that her father was a doctor and a hypnotist, but he was killed during a robbery. And it's like, look, he's wearing the amulet. It's like, what if Simone killed her dad and the amulet gives her power and that's how she gets Clark to do whatever? And they're just like, I like that, like, they're just like, yeah, shit's really weird, like, where we live, so this can happen. So they're like, all right, we're going to meet at the farm and we're going to figure out how to get that thing. So they go to the farm, Lois exit, Chloe takes the meteor rock out of the drawer. Before she goes, Clark is packing because him and Simone are going to run away to California. Lois is like, you need to stop, but Simone's like, no, and Clark knocks Lois unconscious.
Oh, I love the way they did that, where he just very lightly taps her on the forehead or on the.
Like he Luke Cages her.
No, Luke Cage just he
like
smacks.
Taps. Yeah,
he just lightly touches her and she just passes out.
But it actually it makes sense. Like that's what he would do. Yeah. Martha shows up and it's like, why is Lois on the floor? And Simone's like, basically like, don't let Lois leave. Don't let Lois follow us. So Clark and Simone leave. And she's just like, yeah, Clark, I need you to kill awesome. I hate that guy. So Lois wakes up and Martha has a shotgun to her. It's like, I need to keep you here. And then Chloe comes up and she knocks Martha out. So CTE for everybody. And Lois goes like, oh, they were going to go. I was trying to stop them from going to the mansion. Chloe's like, all right, I'm going to go stop them. They go to the Luth mansion. Clark beats the crap out of Lex. And Lex is like, you don't understand. Simone is controlling you. It's like, and I have evidence that Simone killed her father. But Simone's still in control of Clark. Chloe arrives and Clark is choking out Lex. She sneaks in and does the meteor rock in the pocket. So he goes to the floor. Lex grabs the...
I don't know. I don't get how Lex doesn't
see that.
Yeah.
I'm guessing because he's in the process of blacking out. He's doesn't.
He grabs the gun.
Yeah, but you could be really close, and then when you're back in you, it you pop right back in.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
It's not like getting punched where you're woozy. You don't have a concussion. You're just your air supply was cut off. It's a little different. Yeah, so she pops that in Clark's pocket. So he goes to the ground. Lex grabs the gun. But Simone commands him to shoot Chloe, then himself, and then Chloe and him fight. The gun goes off and hits Simone somehow magically directly in the amulet and into her chest.
Killing her.
Yeah, she did. But perfectly through the amulet as well. So that's destroyed and can't be used.
Well, plot.
Yeah. Well, because otherwise then there would be this super powerful device, which this is also the beginning of the idea of magic in the Smallville world. Because they don't explain it otherwise, it's just magic. So Chloe removes the kryptonite from Clark, and he's back to normal. And although it's just in her pocket,
yeah, she grabs it and quickly escapes.
Mm-hmm. And so Clark meets Chloe at the planet, and Chloe thinks Clark and Lana will make up. When he explains it happens, and Clark's like that he and Lana needed to break up anyway because I'm only causing her more pain. And so Lana shows up at the barn later and it's like, I know that you weren't in control. And Clark's like, yeah, my feelings have changed though, saying I don't love you. And Lana does not want an apology, but she's like, our relationship is over for good for the 20th time. And basically she's like, if you don't tell me now what the hell's going on, we're done. So she leaves, and they're done forever until like another season. Clark talks to Martha about the breakup, and she's like, well, maybe deep down, this is like where the hints are. Lana's not the one, and if she was, you would have told her. But you, just to let you know, you didn't just break Lana's heart, you like gave her a reason to hate you. And that's like, this is like the whole love and hate are really close to each other kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so Lana runs to Lex about the breakup, and Lex is like, oh, I'm so sorry. Hug, hug, hug. And Lana's like, I'm tired of all his secrets. And then in Honduras, we see...
Great part. This part is just fantastic.
Fine basically goes full brainiac and creates duplicates of himself. They surround the ship, and they're like, we need more samples.
And they all speed off.
Yeah, they all super speed away. And that's the end of our episode. And I'm pretty sure they're trying to... can't remember, they're trying to find someone who will be the best vessel, right? Is that the idea?
For Zod?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I'm like, why? Like, I was like, why are they randomly doing stuff? Oh, yeah, they're looking for a vessel. And of course, it's like the dude who's in his goddamn face. But yeah, this is like another episode where, like you said before, like the A plot is so dumb. But like the B plot is great, but the A plot's so dumb. But like does something like in it that's kind of important for like the series and like setting up stuff for like the next season, like this season and the season to come. But like this episode's bad. Like,
yeah, and so this is basically this was the final step with Lex trying to split Clark and Lana up.
Yeah, it's like it's not even like he has he sent what's her name there to do this, I believe, is like the idea. But I do also think this is kind of our last bad episode of the season. I think the rest of our episodes in the season, especially the next two, are good. Like, we don't get another bad one for a while. And then this is kind of, well, we'll get to it. This is kind of like our Empire, to, mention Star Wars, where, like, we end, like, on a very downward, like, a very down episode that sets up season 6. But yeah, so this episode's fine. Our next episodes are Void and Fragile, which Void is really interesting because it's basically like
drugs and near-death experiences.
Yeah, it's like that movie with Kiefer Sutherland. So Flatliners? Or is it like it's something like that? They've remade it before, but like where they like take a thing to like go to almost death so that they can see stuff.
Oh, I think you're thinking of the Michael J. Fox film, The Frighteners.
Yeah, no. There's like another, like there's a, as I type into the computer, yeah, and they remade it like 2 years ago with what's her name, Shadowcat. Yeah, it's Flatliners. 5 medical students experiment with near-death experiences until like they're in that movie, in both movies, they're doing stuff to like try to look at the other side, and that's kind of exactly what they're doing in this episode. We're like,
is that the one with Olivia Wilde?
Yeah, the newer one, yes. That's a remake.
I
think that's that one. I think it's been like remade a couple times. Yeah, because the newest one is with Ellen Page and Diego Luna.
Oh, then I'm not I have the wrong thing.
But I think the one you're talking about is a sequel to one of them. I feel like. Oh man, yeah, because the one you're talking about has almost exact. But yeah, basically, yeah.
Lana is about that movie though. It had a good cast, and unfortunately, it just had bad writing.
Lazarus Effect. That's the one that Olivia Wilde was in. It's a group of medical researchers discover a way to bring dead patients back to life. But it's basically the same idea.
Yeah.
With Mark Duplass and Olivia Wilde and Donald Glover. Yeah, it's very, very similar. But yeah, so basically that is the first one, Void, and the second episode is Fragile, which we basically get kind of an interesting thing with like this idea of generation power when it comes to meteor freaks. And it's also, the second one is directed by Tom Welling.
Oh, I keep forgetting that.
Yeah. Yeah, so you can check out, do you want to intro those clips?
Yeah. Okay, so for Void, it's in the beginning-ish of the episode where Lex has died and come back to life, and Chloe starts or gives Clark a rundown of what's was going on with Lana, saying that not so subtly dropping hints like she's trying to see the two people that love her no matter what. And Clark, it takes a little bit, but Clark realizes it's her parents. So this clip is for Fragile. It's Maddie, Clark, and Lois. And Lois and Maddie are not necessarily butting heads, but Maddie it does not like Lois at all.
Yes, well, I think a lot of it goes into she's jealous of her. But
yeah.
Yes. So we'll check out those clips right now.
Chloe, I got your message. What happened?
Lex died.
What?
Don't worry, I brought him back to life. But he said Lana's about to take a one-way cruise down the River Styx if we don't find her soon.
Chloe, what's happening?
Okay, you want the short story? Lana and her new friends have been taking daily trips to the great beyond. They're using a meteor rock cocktail to prolong their near-death experience. But if we don't find her in time, she may never come back from her next little jaunt.
So they're killing themselves and coming back to life?
Yeah.
Your mom called from Topeka with her chief of staff gone. She's been in emergency meetings all day. She asked if I could help out.
Actually, I think we got it under control.
I'm the one with the little sister, remember? Okay, you ready for a few games of hopscotch? I'm a bit rusty, but you'll be the odds-on favorite.
Well, actually, we were just about to saddle up and hit the trails.
Great! Bust out the spurs. I'm game. Oh, how adorable. You want to be alone with Clark. Hey, no worries. I will be galloping way ahead of you guys.
All right. Well, we will check you guys next time. Don't forget to check out all the other stuff we're doing. So if you're listening to this, check out the comic show. Alan, you have, I can't remember the name right now.
Podcast or the website?
Yes, you have the Players Club podcast, which is part of your new site.
VGU.tv.
Yeah.
And by the time this goes up, we'll be starting to bring up, we'll be in the progress of doing Game of the Decade, top 5 games of the year.
And that's awesome.
Yeah. I gotta tell you, ever since I brought this Lazarus affected VGU, I've been very happy.
That's good. So yeah, especially at this time of the year where the holidays are kind of crazy for, have some fun. Check out our shows. Don't forget to rate them with 5 stars. Click subscribe. If you're on YouTube, click the little bell so you get notifications of when new episodes drop. And have a happy holidays. And Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy New Year's, all that stuff. And we'll catch you guys next time. I'm Lou Gonzalez.
And I'm Alan Muir on this podcast at Justice America.